Spurs were thankful this week that Pop just left it at that, because he could have gone on and on, I'm sure. And that was after a win, as you saw on the graphic. They beat the Dallas Mavericks at AT&T, but an uninspired performance. However, as we've hit the Sunday feast, and I know we've all had our share to eat this week, we're going to take in and consume exactly what the Spurs did this week, gentlemen, and they did it on the road. They were magnificent this week on the road.
They sure were, and considering the lack of fiber, which usually leaves you full of you-know-what, the Spurs have started 10-0. They started 10-0 on the road, which the last teams, 5 teams to do that have gone on to the finals. So there's some things working here. In that game against the Mavs, though, obviously they were a little, they lacked some inspiration, as Pop put it lightly.
They were a little backed up in that
But they did beat, as you know, Brent, here, the Celtics and a couple other good teams.
Parker and Aldridge didn't play in that game as we take a look at what San Antonio was able to do, Vince, but I've heard that speech before out of that very same mouth. And he started Murray and Bertans in that game, 2 rookies in that game, and against the Maverick team. And the key thing that Pop said is that Dallas had a lot more out than they did. And there's a standard of play that he's expecting from a team. When you're playing against Dallas and Harrison Barnes is really the only offensive option and you can't shut him down or make it difficult on them, he's sending a message to everybody else about what it is that's expected of you to carry out a game plan. They won the game, but there's a way in which he wants to win. They have since responded and been on fire on the road.
Well, absolutely. And I think part of this, too, you mentioned players being out, but the Spurs finally got their healthy lineup. They got their regular starters back. And when they have all those guys on the floor and the contributions that they got from the bench this week as well, they're magnificent. But you're going to take a closer look, put a finer point on this as you tell me something good.
As we illustrate this play, it does have to do with the Spurs bench, which has been remarkable all season long. I know the Lakers have been good, but let's watch this play late in the game against the Celtics. Again, on the road, Spurs up by 3. They're in this 2-1-2 set here, and what you're going to have is split action with the guards. And I love what Manu does here. Imagine that, Manu making something up. I've never seen that before. But Manu comes down, he does not split, and watch what he does here. He's supposed to set a screen on Isaiah Thomas, but he really doesn't. And when guards think that there's a screen, but there actually isn't a screen, then you start assuming. And you know when you assume what happens, Vince. And so Smart and Isaiah Thomas both stop. Patty Mills, he never stops. He runs out to the corner. You'll watch again on this split. Watch Manu come down. Little fake screen. Marcus Smart stop. Dead. Bye. Patty Mills, 3. Spurs go up by 6 and win that game in the Garden. Or TD, whichever way you want to go. But it's the parquet and a good win for San Antonio.
And as we mentioned, the Spurs perfect on the road. They just finished this 3-0 road trip, so feeling good about themselves, although the West is so competitive. But they are a team of the week. It could have gone a couple of different ways. We stayed with the San Antonio Spurs. So now we are going to get to our players of the week here for the Sunday Feast. And Rick, are you leading us off?
I'm going to stay in the
Right,
same state, in the same area code, with the same team. I'm
Why
just
not?
going to the bench, to Patty Mills. Patty Mills this last week with that 4-0 run. 14 points a game, 60% from the field, 50% from the three-point line, 93% from the free throw line, all coming off the bench, helping them get that 4-0 week under wraps here, maybe getting Pop in a better mood, but also helping rest Tony Parker.
That's pretty good when you can go to a Patty Mills like that, too, when Parker was out. But a guy comes in and he's always ready to go. Bonesy.
I'll stay in the Western Conference, and I was looking at New Orleans. Lots of talk about Drew Holiday coming back, but what about Tim Frazier's play for the Pelicans? I think it's been he's a remarkable story. 3-1 this week. He averaged 15 points per game, shot 49% himself. But I love the story. D-League MVP 2015 and Rookie of the Year 2015. Every time called up, Tim Frazier answered the bell, first in Portland, then signing with New Orleans, has some job security. I think he's been playing some remarkable basketball for the Pelicans and continues to be a motor. Now will maybe be supplanted, obviously, as Drew Holiday maybe gets into the starting lineup, and he'll move to the bench, but he'll do it with a ton of confidence.
Well, I guess we're all staying in the Western Conference then, because I'm there as well. And I'm going to go with Mike Conley Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies. And all Conley did last week in a 3-1 week was just get it done offensively and lead. 31 and 5 threes to start the week against Charlotte. He's shooting 47% from 3 this year. Had a couple of 7-3 games and is also at a career high in points, 19.5. Fizdale's trying to reset this team a little bit, not just be all the grindhouse, but also expand their offense and who they have to be to win in the Western Conference. And Conley's been great. But I think more than that is that he hasn't been burdened by the 153 contract that he signed in the offseason. Instead, he's playing good basketball and going about his business. And you guys know this. Sometimes when guys get paid, it can be a distraction, right?
Yeah, I was never distracted enough, actually. But yo, some people don't. Some guys can't handle that. They want it. Everybody wants it. But when you get it, the added pressure sometimes can stifle you.
I think it might have been a lot different, Vince, had Mike Conley signed that contract with another team in another city where maybe there was a lot more attention put on what it was that he was doing for that team and how he was carrying the franchise. But for people in Memphis who watch Mike Conley get to this point in his career, understanding what he means not only to that team but to the community, he's just doing his business and doing it well.
Right, and they put together a nice little run as a team last week as well with their win streak. So that's going to do it for the feast. And I didn't know I'd have room for that, but apparently I did.
No
Thanks,
pie?
guys.
No pie?
Yeah, I'll have a slice. A little bigger.